Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Growth Podcast. In this CXO interview series, you'll hear directly from founders and revenue leaders as they share their journeys, growth experience, and stories of building and scaling their companies. Today, I'm thrilled to have Ryan Tang with us. Ryan is the founder and CEO of Dealight AI. So, Ryan, can you start by giving us a quick intro to yourself and what inspired you to start Dealight?
Cool. Yeah, I love to. And thanks for the intro, Amy. Hey, everyone. I'm Ryan, founder and CEO at Dealight. We are an experimental AI SDR that helps B2B companies explore, refine their ICP, and scale their outbound sales process. So the reason why I started Dealight, can be traced back to a couple of things. I was a Googler working under Ads AI, so I know how important it is to do data-driven experiments, not just for ads, but for marketing and sales campaign as well. Then I joined a fintech company called Step. They're basically a banking solutions for teenagers. So think of a credit card for teenagers. And so my experience at Step is actually one of the main reasons why we built Dealight and why our ICP right now are early stage companies. So I particularly like the idea of growing with our users. We solve our customers' problems and they grow old or become more mature, they'll stick with us. That's how Step works, that's how Dealight works, and it's also the key value of Dealight.
Perfect. So, since you mentioned that your customers are early stage companies, can you share what are the core problem that Dealight is solving for these early stage companies, and how do your customer benefit from the service?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Dealight is solving one of the most difficult tasks in GTM field, which is refining ICP and helping our clients, which is early stage customers, finding their product market fit. So the way it works is that our clients will first provide their current target audience or their ICP. Then our AI will break down these target audience into multiple of what we call micro campaigns. The idea of micro campaign is that it is also a campaign, but more granular, targeted, and segmented. So for example, if our clients say, hey, our ICP are healthcare companies from 50 to 500 employees, then a micro campaign can be something like 50 to 7 employees that are actively hiring software engineer, or another one micro campaign could be like 70 to 100 employee that recently have hired a VP of engineering. And so after we have these micro campaigns, our AI agents will experiment these campaigns, learn the results, spawn new micro campaigns until we find the ones with good results. So, in terms of the value and the benefits our customers have, although we are an AI SDR that helping our clients book demos, but the most valuable deliverables from Dealight is that our clients will know exactly what works and what doesn't work. They'll have a better understanding of their ICP using our service.
Perfect. Can you share what is the traction so far, and is there any feedback that you heard from your customers about the service?
Yeah, well, that's also a good question. So, as I'm saying, our current target customers are early stage B2B startups, which is where we see the most traction from. But then if you think about it, the service can also apply to companies having a new service or product with untested ICP, companies trying to expand into new market, or companies who want to validate their ICP again. So, for example, a simple question for you guys is that, do you think your company has found product market fit yet? Have you experimented and tried similar segments? Do you think that you're getting the best reply rate from email and LinkedIn already? If you're not sure, then you might be our TA. So far, one of the feedbacks we get from most of our clients is that we are pretty effective in terms of testing their ICP, as we're able to spawn different campaigns and try it out for them. So it's efficient, but the effectiveness is something that they've been constantly asking. How do we kind of come up with these campaigns? How do we make these campaigns better and more targeted based on their ICP?
That's clear. And so if you had to name one thing that you're most proud of at Dealight and one major challenge that you are working through, what would those be?
Okay, so let me think about it. First of all, we are solving the most difficult problem in GTM with AI. So, when we really find a working campaign for our clients, it really is satisfying. At the same time, we have a relatively high churn rate right now. Finding product market fit is definitely not easy for different kinds of early stage startups. So, a lot of time, the problem really comes from not from their GTM strategies or the ICP they define, but rather if it's from whether or not their product or service are really solving the pain points or providing enough value.
Yeah.
And so now one of the ways we tackle with this challenge, besides improving our product, is to be more selective in terms of the clients we work with. So sometimes I feel like I'm like an early stage VC right now. We really need to kind of qualify our clients in a way to see understand if they do have a good product or services. And we're still figuring out the criteria, but we're getting better.
What is your own go-to-market strategy, and how do you, prioritize the executions right now?
Yeah, well, this is going to be a short answer. I mean, like, we're basically eating our own dog food, or we're using Delight to do everything from figuring out the campaigns for us and doing outreach and book demos for us, like through email and LinkedIn. You know, for most of the cases right now, we're not doing any partnership and referral yet, just purely using Delight to do like go-to-market for us.
Cool. Can you share like any metrics about like, for example, how many
Yeah,
customers can or prospect can
yeah.
Delight renew on a weekly or a monthly basis, or any like adoption rate, or yeah, any metrics like that?
In terms of the metrics, we find the most success on email right now. So, we have like 6% reply rate. We have like about 25% positive reply rate so far based on the campaigns we sent out. Like that's kind of like the optimal campaigns we found from Delight. Like 6% reply rate and 25% positive reply rate. And that transferred into about 15 demos per week. So we have like 60 demos per month right now. Our average conversion rate is 25%. That's kind of how the current strategy works. At the same time, as I'm saying earlier, we're starting to get more selective in terms of the client we work with. So the actual kind of contract is not going to be like 25%. We're still learning how do we kind of balance that.
Yeah, I think this kind of AI SDR or like go-to-market tool or agent market is quite competitive right now.
Yep.
So in this kind of competitive market, how do you differentiate Daylight from other services?
Okay. Well, here's how I would usually explain this part in my way. So the simple way I would do this is that I'll first compare ourselves with AI tools. So there are like a lot of tools out there, claim like AI-based tools like Apollo. They're actually transferring to that. ZoomInfo, Lucia, Outreach.io. There's like a lot of AI tools out there versus AI SDR, like the new ones like Artisan, 11x, or like Delight, right? So the differentiation between AI tools or AI SDR is the deliverables. AI tools will give you leads. You still have to engage yourself. Whereas AI SDR gives you the meetings and demos. It takes care of the entire outbound sales process. So that's the first differentiation between any AI tools out there versus AI SDR. Now we can talk about more about the difference between Delight and other SDR. So the differentiation here between Delight and other AI SDR is how we're able to get you meetings. Other AI SDR will perfectly follow your ICP and find you demos, which is extremely useful for companies who already found their product market fit. Usually like mid-sized to large-sized companies, enterprise, they'll be very useful for them to utilize AI SDR who perfectly follow their instruction or their playbook. Delight, on the other hand, will question your input delivery, will experiment your campaigns, will use a data-driven way to book demos for you. So usually, Delight is we're going to take more effort and time until we can efficiently book qualified demos for you. But it works for companies who are not sure about their ICP or TA yet. For if they tried other AI SDR, it wouldn't work at the first beginning. And more importantly, you get what works and what doesn't work. So I like to do like a quick summarization between the difference here. Other AI SDR is kind of like a black box solution. Whether it works or not, you probably have no idea why. You wouldn't be able to replicate yourself outside of their solution. Whereas our solution is more white box. You'll exactly know what's working, what's not working, and what is triggering your target audience interest.
Makes sense. So I do have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Since you help your customers who are the early stage companies find out who are their ICP, have you actually identified an ICP for a customer that they didn't think are their ICP before? Like, have you
Yeah, well,
given them any suggestions? Yeah.
that's a very
Go
good
ahead.
question. Usually, it's more about refining their existing ICP. They have an idea about they want to target, for example, healthcare companies or B2B startups, but they did not know what kind of specific information, signals, or specific campaigns they're looking for.
Okay.
So the way it works is that we really break down into like finding the insights for them. For example, we find a staffing recruiting firm that companies that posted LinkedIn for like over 3 months already in terms of hiring senior engineers are one of their ICPs. That is something that they didn't know in the first place. They thought company actively hiring is already their ICP, but then what they're solving is actually companies that already been looking for a while for specific titles. That's one of the examples. The other examples I can give you is that we also kind of identify some signals that's very specific, like, okay, seems like you're targeting like 50 to 200 people, but more importantly, it's probably somewhere around 50 to 75 people. That's where they start to have this organization and they're looking for solutions. So these are kind of the things that we're looking into right now, and that's how it works with experimentation.
Okay. So how you tell the difference from their original criteria to the new recommended criteria is that you'll like do some A/B testing and like reach out to different pool, or is there a way for the agent to just like do some analysis and define it in the beginning?
Yeah, usually it's both, right? So we will basically break down their campaigns from AI into multiple different micro campaigns. And then we do A/B testing, we do experiment. It's not just about targeting, it's also about copywriting. So whether or not sending this to message to the person makes sense, or you should use other value prop, there's actually a lot of know-how and knowledge in terms of sending the right message to even you're with the right people, right? So if you want to send the right message to the right people, personalization is not enough. You have to mention the right value claim. You have to point out the right pain points they're having right now, which also related to the micro campaign. That's the reason why we have micro campaigns. The more targeted you have, the better the message you can send out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
I think my next questions is more about Delight's future plan. So, what are your priorities for the next 3 to 6 months, and how do you plan to achieve the targets? Any like major product updates or any new feature launches coming up or hiring plan?
Yeah, so we're building and refining how we run experiments for our clients. For now, most of the process is still, well, some of the process is still manual. And then we need like human expert or like sales expert to involve in the experiment process. So the plan for the next 3 to 6 months is mostly focusing on how do we create a fully automated agents with like minimum human interaction.
And that's like with kind of some product involved or AI involved to
Yeah,
automate the
so like
process.
exactly. So like for now, coming up with all these experiments and iterating, sometimes you still need human involvement. The quality wasn't there yet, so it needs kind of like our expert to jump in and say, hey, actually, there's something we can fix about this experiment to make it better. So it still needs some monitoring and
Oh,
kind of
got it,
understand.
got
Oh,
it.
why do you come up with this kind of experiment? How do you observe from the previous campaigns? So we're kind of adjusting how AI being more adaptive, like based on the previous results, outcomes, and metrics. How do we come up with a better one? And that part is still relatively manual right now, and we need to kind of move that into more automated.
Train it. Okay,
Yes, exactly.
got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Can you share about like a long-term vision of Delight and how do you see it, evolving with this AI automation space over the next few years?
Ooh, okay, that is a very good question. So I would say here's my thought. So I think, well, I believe in the next waves of sales and go to market. No, I wouldn't be able to talk like about like AI automation space in general. I think that's too
Yeah.
broad of a topic for me. But I can say like for sales and GTM these part, I think the next big wave isn't about automation. It's more about adaptation. In other words, how can AI agents observe user data and improve as it goes? Right now, most of these sales AI or like AI agents can usually, take in user input like their company data or like the context and personalize their output. But that's only like one pass. It's not good enough. And adaptive AI agents should also observe like the output it creates and continuously improve, iterate until it finds better results. Just like humans, like we execute, we learn our mistakes, and we become better. I think that's kind of the part that current sales AI are missing, and it's kind of the next big waves I believe in sales and GTM. And so, for Delay, we're going to create basically an adapted AI SDR that ultimately know how to book demos effective for our clients, even if they're not familiar with outbound sales.
Cool. That's yeah, sounds like a very ambitious vision,
It
I
is.
guess.
It is. It is. Well, that's how Delay works. We want to
Look
build the
forward
most
to
investment.
that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. So for business that are looking to enhance their workflow with AI, what lessons from your journey at Delight would you highlight? It can be,
Okay.
some other workflow automations or improvement, not
Okay.
really has to be
That's right.
go-to-market related, like engineering or
Got it.
whatnot.
Got it. Well, so then I guess it's really kind of related to how Delight started and what my journey with Delight comes so far right now. I would say from my experience, I think people should always start with learning what works and what doesn't work before jump into any sort of automations or any sort of workflow with AIs. I've seen a lot of companies rush into any kind of automations. Maybe it's because of FOMO of AI
Yeah.
agents, but rush into
Yeah.
automations before they understand what's truly repeatable. At Delight, we do the other way around. We learn to first use, AI to do experiment, identify patterns, refine ICPs before we kind of do it at scale. So I would say, what I learned from the lesson is that, I think that AI's value probably is more valuable on insights generation, finding what works, what doesn't work, not about efficiency. I think once you know what
Okay.
works, you can automate with confidence, but not from the start. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I love to hear that. I think nowadays a lot of companies they just want to implement AI everywhere without knowing
Yeah.
what's the actual problem they want to solve and if
Yeah.
AI can really solve them or if AI is the best way to solve them. So yeah, definitely 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts or suggestions that you want to share with other founders and go-to-market leaders?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have too much thought about it. I guess I'll just kind of reiterate what I, said about the previous part about the lessons. Just please remember that you don't chase automations. Just chase understanding. I believe the companies that grow fastest or learn fastest will win um, based on their understanding about their market, not the ones that send the most emails. So that's kind of my final thoughts
Yeah,
I would share with the founders and GTM leaders.
yeah, agree. Perfect. Thank you for your
Okay.
time, Ryan.
Hey,
Thanks for
thanks. No worries.
sharing. Very insightful. All right. See you next time.